All right, that is US President Donald Trump as well as billionaire Elon Musk there talking about his departure from the Oval Office. Of course, he has spent over 130 days in that position as a special government employee, and that comes to an end now. And for some analysis on this, we now joined by SABC News Correspondent Sherwin Bryce-Pease, and he joins us now from Bentonville in Arkansas. Sherwin, thank you so much for your time. I know that you've also been monitoring that press briefing that got underway. I think it was about 30 minutes late, but nonetheless, what do you make now that we've heard from, of course, Elon Musk himself talking about his departure, as well as US President Donald Trump talking about how Elon Musk has saved America billions of dollars?
Well, first things first, in Bali, you're not hallucinating. The walls are very colorful behind me. I'm in a hotel here in Arkansas, in Bentonville, Arkansas, and this is the quiet space they've given me. So mind not the colors behind me. Yeah, let's just give you a run through of what President Trump said there, right? It's a new experience to see someone exiting the federal government and Donald Trump giving them a press conference, right? And so I think that in itself speaks to the importance of the relationship, the importance that certainly Donald Trump sees Elon Musk as having played in his role.
All right, Sherwin, thank you so much once again for your time. What do you make of that press briefing, Sherwin, seeing Elon Musk there, officially leave the Trump administration?
Well, I think the broad takeaway in Bali is that the relationship in some way is going to continue, despite the fact that Elon Musk will be a little bit more hands-off in terms of his founding role as the head of the Department of Government Efficiency, this quasi-government department that was created by the Trump administration, essentially to look at the rejigging the federal government in terms of cutting waste and fraud. And certainly from their perspective, they say that they've cut around 160 billion since DOGE's founding in January. But of course, those numbers need auditing. And just because they say so doesn't mean it's happened. And also the aim here was initially for cuts of some $2 trillion. But as Elon Musk was saying in that press conference, the work of DOGE will continue. They certainly are now aiming for around $1 trillion in cuts. But of course, that is a very complicated effort, particularly given, as you and I both know, how government works. The bureaucracy often gets in the way in terms of cuts. And of course, the implications of those cuts politically. Let me just run through a little bit about what President Trump said. Referring to Elon Musk as one of the greatest business leaders and innovators. He worked tirelessly initiatives in terms of sweeping government reform. He found things that Trump said were unbelievable. He brought colossal change to Washington. He's working on the modernization of the federal government. Elon is not leaving, but will be back and forth. His service to America is without comparison. He thanked Elon for his time. He thanked Elon and the DOGE people for their work. We will see results into the future. He gave an incredible service. No one like him. He's an incredible patriot. Elon happens to be a very good person who loves this country. Then, of course, there was that moment where he gave him a gold key. I'm not sure if it's a gold key to the White House or what exactly, but that was the gift he gave Elon Musk. And then Musk had an opportunity in Bali to talk. He said this was not the end of DOGE, it's the beginning. After spending about 134 days working with the Department of Government Efficiency, his time is coming to an end. DOGE's influence will only grow stronger. It'll permeate across the federal government. Their aim, of course, still remains $1 trillion in waste and fraud. Currently at around 160 billion, according to their numbers. But he will continue, Humbali, to be a friend and an advisor to the President of the United States. But I think if you step back from what they're saying in that press conference, we know that this has been a difficult time for Elon Musk and his businesses. You saw sales drop precipitously in terms of Tesla sales year on year. We are seeing declines in sales in Europe, declines in Canada, declines in the United States. Protesters outside Tesla car dealerships, some arson attacks. So obviously the financial burden of his political affiliations to the Trump administration has come to bear in terms of his businesses, be that his ex-business, SpaceX business, or Tesla. And so I think the consensus in terms of those people that are part of the boards of those companies has been Elon Musk needs to get back to his job full-time and step away from the federal government, and that now appears to be the case.
And Sherwin, something that I also picked up on during that press briefing is when Trump was making reference to the country where Elon Musk comes from, which is South Africa, and also saying that that country is going through trials and tribulation. Interestingly, this time, no word on genocide.
Right, and so hopefully you imagine that the impact of President Ramaphosa's visit last week, you'll recall that we were also in that Oval Office. I even saw the ceiling that Elon Musk was looking at. It has the seal of the United States with gold stars and a lot of gold in the room. But one hopes that there's been impact here in terms of redefining what it is that the United States certainly sees as problematic in South Africa. And the message was quite clear in that Oval Office meeting between the South African delegation and the United States, that South Africa has a crime problem that affects all races, and this is not a genocide aimed at the white Afrikaner minority. And so one expects that, having had that private conference between the two delegations after the public showcase in the Oval Office, President Ramaphosa coming out of that meeting saying they got to substance. They talked about a new trade and investment a framework. The leadership there of Park Stow, the Minister of Trade, Industry and Competition, pivotal in reframing that conversation. And of course, you're hearing from the South Africans now that there will be greater engagement in terms of U.S. involvement in the G20. So perhaps genocide now at the periphery and more of a partnership in terms of what can actually be done to arrest certain concerns that the United States has in relation to South Africa, but also in terms of moving the relationship forward in a trade and investment manner. That's certainly very important to the South African delegation, and certainly what they'd like to see moving forward.
And Sherwin, what do you make of some of the countries which were mentioned when it comes to some of the expenditure from the U.S. government, also going through the various countries and some African countries that also featured in that list from the U.S. president?
Look, what Donald Trump is doing in this presidency is reframing the U.S. bilateral relationship with countries, be that in Africa or around the world. And in the main, he has used his signature economic tool here. One can almost call it like his weapon, if you will, in terms of the imposition of tariffs. And it's being used as leverage to get countries to the negotiating table, because he believes that the United States, having trade deficits with these countries, is a national security risk to the United States. But you also heard in that conversation, Mbali, is that the courts are weighing in here. You saw the International Trade, U.S. Trade Court, a 3-judge panel with 3 judges appointed by 2 Republicans, Ronald Reagan and Donald Trump, and a 3rd justice by Barack Obama, ruling that Donald Trump had overstepped his mandate in terms of his powers to impose tariffs. That has been lifted temporarily by an appellate court in a federal appellate court in Washington, D.C. But it is a process that will continue to play out, probably up to the Supreme Court, that will be able to provide clarity on how the United States is able to wield the tariffs as an economic tool in terms of reframing those relationships with countries around the world.
Sherwin, thank you so much for that update. That's SABC News Correspondent Sherwin Bryce-Pease from Bentonville in Arkansas there, giving us an update and analysis when it comes to that press briefing which was held, or is currently still underway, being held in the White House by U.S. President Donald Trump on Elon Musk's departure.